In Los Angeles, just before sunrise, an armored truck makes a quick stop outside a donut shop, and two security guards head inside for breakfast. That's when it begins. Out of nowhere, a car and an SUV slide in and box the truck in. Armed men in tactical gear and gas masks jump out, pointing shotguns and rifles straight at the guards just as they exit the shop.
No, bro, we're not here for you. Don't even think about it.
Inside the truck, the driver silently hits the panic button, alerting the police they're being ambushed, but he refuses to step out when ordered. So one of the attackers brings out a power drill, punches a hole through the windshield, and then hooks the glass to the SUV, yanking it clean off. One of the guards tries to draw his weapon, but is immediately gunned down. The driver doesn't get a chance. He's shot too. A Chinese guy sitting in a nearby vehicle, tracking police movement, warns the crew they have just 30 seconds before backup arrives. They rip open the back of the truck and drag out a fourth guard. Meanwhile, another guy sprays bleach all over their car to wipe out any trace. Seconds later, LAPD arrives and the street erupts in gunfire. But pistols don't stand a chance against assault rifles.
Dispatch 1097, it's LAPD's on scene. Gunfire.
4 officers go down, and one of the gunmen is killed. Still, the rest manage to escape with the truck intact. The crew follows the radio guy's directions and safely make it to a warehouse. Tension simmers. Their leader isn't happy. He scolds one of the men for shooting the guard, reminding them the truck needs to be spotless. As they crack open the back doors, one of the crew asks if he's okay. He just stares ahead and mutters,
"We're cop killers now."
And with that start, today we're recapping the 2018 action crime thriller movie, Den of Thieves. Get ready to watch the rest of the story, and don't forget to like and subscribe before that. Back to the story. Detective Nick arrives at the crime scene and walks straight to his team from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, who are gathered around the body of one of the dead outlaws. Detective Baracho gives him the rundown. Nick quickly figures out they're dealing with pros. These guys clearly knew there wouldn't be any air support at this location. Murph adds that the crew only took an empty armored truck. Tony guesses they must have gotten some bad information and messed up the job. Across the street, Bosco, one of the outlaws, is sitting inside a car, secretly taking pictures of the detectives. Later, at the workshop, Bosco shows the photos to Merriman and points out Nick as the guy in charge. Merriman recognizes him right away and looks up his information. Ensign mentions that Nick used to play football at South. Merriman tells the crew that this guy runs the Major Crimes Division. Donnie stares at the photo of Nick and quietly walks off. Meanwhile, at the LASD office, Nick and his team go over the case. They realize this had to be an inside job. The thieves knew about a money transfer that wasn't even going through the regular carrier. Their prime suspect? Merriman. He got out on parole just 8 months ago. That night, Donnie is behind the bar. A man from the Federal Reserve Bank leaves after a drink but forgets his Fed access card on the counter. Donnie notices it, picks it up, and drops it into the cash register. Then he walks over to Mac, the Chinese guy on the crew, and takes a shot with him and 2 of their friends. Nick shows up at the bar acting casual. He starts a chat with Donnie, who explains that the bar is neutral ground. Anyone can come in. Nick asks if he's heard any good stories in there. Donnie smiles and says, "Sure, all the time." Later that night, Donnie gets into his car after finishing his shift. Suddenly, Nick appears at the window and tases him, knocking him out cold. Donnie wakes up in a strange bed. When he walks out into the other room, he sees Nick's team sitting around with a bunch of women. Everyone's hanging out like it's a normal night. Nick gets serious and shows Donnie a photo of him talking to Merriman. Gus tells Donnie they know who he is. He lists his record: grand theft auto, attempted manslaughter, and even the fastest speeding ticket in California.
How fast were you going?
178.
Speed demon.
Gus warns him he's one mistake away from going back to jail. Donnie says he's seen Merriman at the bar a few times, but that's it. That's when Nick pulls up his sleeve and shows Donnie a tattoo, a skeleton with the word regulators under it. He explains what it means. They're not regular cops. They don't bother making arrests. They shoot first. Then he leans in and asks Donnie what a guy like him is doing around convicts. Donnie doesn't answer, so Nick grabs him by the neck. Scared, Donnie finally says he's just the driver. He describes a large sum of cash stolen from a stadium by the crew but denies knowing their plans. Nick lets him go and tells him to keep doing what he's doing. They'll be in touch. Nick gets home just as the sun is coming up, but his day's not done. His wife is already awake and furious. She holds up her phone and shows him a message. It's a text Nick meant to send to his side chick, but it ended up on the main chick's phone by mistake. She knows he's cheating. Without saying much more, she grabs their daughters and walks out. Meanwhile, Merriman and his crew are outside the Los Angeles branch of the Federal Reserve, watching the building from across the street. Merriman tells them this is the only bank in the world that's never been robbed. The reason? Every street around the building is wired for audio and video. Just stand there and stare too long, and security will ask you to leave. He says there have been 53 attempts to break in, and not one made it past the lobby. Then he adds,
That's why we're gonna rob it.
Back at LASD headquarters, Nick and his team, the regulators, dig deeper into the crew. They find out that Merriman, Ensign, Bosco, and Donnie all served in the Marines. As they go over old case files, they notice something. There hasn't been a single high-level heist during the 10 years Merriman was locked up. Nick tells the others that if they can catch him, they'll probably close all those unsolved cases too. As the group steps out for lunch, a man walks up and hands Nick an envelope. Divorce papers.
You all right, bro?
Yeah, I guess I'm getting divorced. Welcome to the fucking club.
Later that day, Merriman and his crew are back at their warehouse. He walks them through how the Federal Reserve works, especially the counting floor. Even if they managed to steal money directly from the reserve, they couldn't use it. Every bill is tracked by serial number, and the second they try to spend it, they'll be caught. But then Merriman explains something else. Every day, the Fed deletes the serial numbers of bills that are too damaged or old to use. Between 4 and 5 p.m., those unfit bills are shredded. The trash is picked up by a waste company and dumped. And in the $100 counting room alone, nearly $30 million worth of bills are marked unfit every single day. If they can get those unfit bills before they're shredded and get out clean, that's $30 million in cash, completely untraceable. That's what they're after. Donnie gets a job at a Chinese takeaway place that regularly delivers food to Fed employees. On one of his delivery runs, he walks into the Federal Reserve carrying 2 takeout bags. Security checks him, gives him an access card, and buzzes him in. He drops off one of the bags in the cafeteria to a group of ladies, then heads into the bathroom. Inside, he hides the second bag up inside a ventilation shaft. Later that night, Merriman and his crew are at a restaurant having dinner. A few moments later, Nick and the regulators walk in and take a table. Nick gets up and strolls over to Merriman's group. He greets Donnie and says he's seen him around the gym lately. Then, out of nowhere, Nick starts provoking everyone. He mocks the football team Merriman used to play for, makes comments about the women at the table, and doesn't hold back. The tension builds until Gus steps in, pulls Nick away, and apologizes for his behavior. Back at the warehouse, Merriman's crew isn't taking chances. They surround Donnie and start pressing him, asking if he's a cop. Donnie denies it, but Merriman pulls a gun and asks him how he knows Nick. Cornered, Donnie cracks. He tells them that Nick approached him and already knows who they are, but he swears he hasn't said anything and hasn't seen Nick since. Merriman believes him, for now, and tells Donnie to make sure Nick knows the heist is happening on Friday. Donnie later meets Nick at a suit store and confronts him for nearly blowing his cover back at the restaurant. He tells Nick the heist is set for Friday, but says he doesn't know the location yet. The next day, Nick shows up at a shooting range where Merriman is practicing. Nick loads up a clip and fires some rounds, trying to show off, but Merriman isn't impressed. He picks up his own rifle and fires off a clean burst, every shot hitting dead center. Without saying a word, he walks out. Nick checks Merriman's target and sees all the shots grouped perfectly in the middle. He's not thrilled. That night, Nick goes to a club where Merriman's girlfriend works. He watches her on stage. After her set, she walks straight over to him, leans in, and whispers something in his ear. Morning comes. Merriman walks in through the front door. She hurries out of the living room. Nick stands there shirtless. The two men lock eyes. Both glance at the gun sitting on the table. Nick gives a small nod, like telling him to go for it, but Merriman just grins and walks right past him into the bedroom. He shuts the door behind him. Nick walks out, gets into his car, and makes a call. He tells his teammate he's got the location of the next heist, info he just got from Merriman's girlfriend. Inside the bathroom, she tells Merriman that she did exactly what he told her to. The day of the heist arrives. Nick and his team are already in place, watching the bank from a distance. A van pulls into the parking lot. Merriman and his crew step out, dressed in bulletproof vests, face masks, and carrying assault rifles. They storm into the bank, shoot out the security cameras, and shout for everyone to get down. In seconds, the crew takes control. They collect all the cell phones, tie everyone's hands with cable ties, and cover their heads with bags. Merriman orders the bank manager to call 911. He tells him exactly what to say. Demand $10 million in cash delivered in a helicopter filled with fuel within 1 hour. If they don't get what they want, they'll kill a hostage every hour. No cops are to approach the building, and if a negotiator calls, someone dies. Within minutes, LAPD and FBI arrive on the scene, sirens blaring, but Nick isn't happy. This was supposed to be his operation from the start. Inside, the bank manager opens the vault. The phone rings. Merriman answers it on speaker. The LAPD negotiator is on the line, saying they're working on the demands. Merriman replies calmly,
"You just killed a hostage."
and hangs up. Bosco grabs one of the hostages and leads them to the back. A loud gunshot follows. The negotiator calls again. This time, the bank manager picks up. He says the robbers have already killed someone, and they'll shoot another if anyone calls back before the demands are met. The negotiator asks for 90 minutes. Merriman nods, and the manager confirms they'll wait. Outside, the FBI and LAPD study the building schematics. Suddenly, a loud explosion shakes the street. They assume Merriman's crew just blew open the safe. Nick looks at the map and spots something odd. He points to a section and asks Tony what it is. Tony says it's a sewer line, but the map shows it's been sealed off. Nick looks over at a nearby manhole and starts to piece it together. Without waiting, he grabs a crowbar and heads straight to the bank's front door. He pries it open and rushes inside. He checks on the hostages. Everyone's alive. Then he heads to the back where the supposed shooting happened and finds the dead hostage still breathing and completely unharmed. Meanwhile, Merriman and his crew climb out of the sewer through a manhole and disappear into the streets. Back inside, Nick and his team enter the bank with weapons drawn. They reach the vault and find a hole in the floor. Merriman's crew had gone straight into the sewer line. Nick doesn't wait. He's already down there chasing them through the tunnels. At the same time, Mac calls the Federal Reserve, pretending to be from Alameda Security Company. He schedules a drop-off from a local savings bank for 2:45 p.m., just 2 minutes from now. Merriman and Ensign, dressed in Alameda uniforms, arrive at the Fed in a disguised armored truck. It's the same one they stole earlier, now modified to look official. They roll up to the security gate, show their IDs, and the guard lets them through without question. They park, open the back of the truck, and unload 2 tubs full of cash. The tubs are wheeled straight into the receiving area on the counting floor. From there, the money counters take the tubs into the $100 bill counting room. Merriman and Ensign wait in the lounge like everything is normal. Below the building, Bosco is already in the utility tunnel. He gets confirmation over radio that Donnie is inside. With the signal from Merriman, Bosco hits a switch on the power grid. The Fed goes into a brownout. Lights flicker, and the security systems in the $100 count room, cameras, sensors, even the shredders, go offline. One of the police security guards tells the counters to take a break while they reset the system. Everyone clears out. Inside the counting room, Donnie is stuffed inside one of the tubs, surrounded by stacks of $100 bills. Merriman radios in. He's clear. Donnie climbs out, pulls out a small device, and triggers an electromagnetic pulse to make sure the cameras stay dead. Then he begins shoving the unfit bills, the ones marked for shredding, down the trash chute. Just then, one of the Fed employees who regularly orders food calls the Chinese takeaway. Mac picks up. Mac throws on a fake Chinese accent accent and says it's on the way. Downstairs, a police guard notices the camera and motion sensors in the count room are still offline. He overrides the system and tells another guard they need to finish the count. The guard heads to the cafeteria to bring the counters back. Inside, Donnie is still behind a table, packing up unfit hundreds into black Ziploc bags and dropping them down the chute. But then he triggers a motion sensor. The system's back on. Seconds later, the guard and 2 counters return to the room. Merriman warns Donnie over the radio. He's got to move now. Donnie scrambles, unscrews a vent cover, and slips into the shaft, pulling the cover back just in time. From inside the vents, he radios back, telling Merriman he's in. Merriman signals Bosco to switch the power back on. Everyone inside the Fed goes back to work, like nothing happened. Donnie climbs out of the bathroom ventilation shaft and grabs the Chinese takeout bag he hid there earlier. Using the access card left behind by the Fed employee at the bar, he quietly moves through the building. He delivers the now old takeout to the women in the cafeteria and walks right out of the Federal Reserve.
Chinese food guy? Go on, buzz him in. Hold him there. Yeah, send him through. Yeah, man, I don't have you signed in. What's your name?
Well, man, I signed my name with a dude from the last shift, man.
I'm getting my money back.
Go on, get out of here.
Thank you.
Outside, 2 of Donnie's friends, both working as garbage truck drivers for the waste company that services the Fed, pull up at the same intersection. They see each other and give a quick nod. Back in the $100 counting room, the counters confirm that the Alameda cash delivery checks out. The tubs are empty. They roll them back to Merriman and Ensign and buzz them out of the waiting room. In the Fed's basement, one of Merriman's men, driving a refuse truck, picks up the trash bags, the ones loaded with the stolen cash. Merriman and Ensign drive away in the armored truck, calm and collected. Bosco follows behind one of the garbage trucks in a Suburban. He radios Merriman with the location. Merriman catches up and blocks the garbage truck from the front while Bosco slides in behind, pulls a gun, and orders the guy out of the truck. Once the driver is out, Bosco hops in and drives off. The rest of the crew follows him all the way to the dump site. Meanwhile, Nick is tearing through the city, trying to track them down. Then he spots Donnie walking down the street. He slams on the brakes and pulls over. Mac, watching from a distance, sees Gus and Tony grab Donnie and force him into Nick's truck. Inside, they beat Donnie down and demand to know where Merriman is. Donnie finally cracks and gives up his location. At the dump site, Merriman gets a call from Mac. He tells him that Donnie's been made. Mac adds that he's still in the clear and asks where to go, but Merriman doesn't say a word. He just hangs up. Turning to Ensign, Merriman tells him Donnie and Mac are both burned. Then they quietly drive off in the Suburban. Nick spots Merriman's Suburban and tails it onto a freeway that's jammed with traffic. He quickly radios the location to Murph and Baracho. Merriman glances in his rearview mirror and sees Nick's truck behind them as the cars ahead come to a full stop. Gus cuffs Donnie inside Nick's truck while Nick and Tony get out. Murph and Baracho arrive at the scene just as Merriman, Ensign, and Bosco step out of the Suburban. The regulators begin closing in. Suddenly, Merriman opens fire. His shot hits Baracho, killing him instantly. Chaos erupts. Bullets fly in every direction, smashing into nearby cars and kicking up glass and metal. It's a full-on war zone. Bosco is hit in the neck and goes down, dead. Merriman takes out Tony with a shot to the knee, leaving him unable to move. Then, he and Ensign make a run for it through the side street. Nick charges after them. In the chase, Nick takes down Ensign with a clean, fatal shot. Merriman manages to shoot Murph in the arm before disappearing into an alleyway. Nick keeps going, right on his heels. They face off in the alley. Nick fires and hits Merriman, leaving him bleeding and struggling on the ground. Merriman fumbles with his gun, manages to reload and pulls himself up. Limping forward, he fires at Nick. Nick ducks behind a car, reloads, and shoots Merriman in the chest. Merriman falls, crawls to cover, and checks his vest for more rounds, but there's nothing left. He stands up slowly and points his empty gun at Nick. Not knowing it's unloaded, Nick fires one last shot, killing him. Nick returns to the car, only to find that Donnie is gone, vanished. He and Gus check the black bags in the Suburban. They're not full of cash, just shredded paper. Later, Nick goes back to the bar where Donnie used to work and asks around. The owner tells him Donnie quit 2 days ago. As Nick sits at the counter, he notices two Federal Reserve employees walk in, ID cards hanging from their necks. He looks at a photo of a football team on the wall and freezes. Donnie, Mac, and two other guys, all on the same team. It hits him. Donnie was the real mastermind, the one who planned everything by listening in on bar conversations and collecting bits and pieces from the right people. He played everyone. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Donnie is bartending at a London pub, now with a British accent. His crew laughs and drinks around him. In flashbacks, we see how Donnie first pitched the Federal Reserve heist to Merriman, how he packed the money into tires, and how he shipped it all off to Panama, clean and untraceable. Well, that's the end of this story. If you enjoyed this recap, consider subscribing to support me. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.